Hello everyone, so finally I was able to play the Dead Space remake, and I did so on PS5. I played the original one on PlayStation 3, so I thought might as well keep it in the family and do it on the PlayStation, get that ray tracing in, had a blast with it. So it took me about 8.5 hours to actually go through the campaign once again, and I played the first one a lot of times. I knew all the places to go, but part of what makes that great is there's just the amount of added content that they put into, which I'll get into within my review. But yes, 8.5 hours to beat it, and I played around 15 hours so far of it's just going through doing basically most everything that you can do within the game. So I've had a lot of fun with it, and now is finally my time to give my review for it. So yes, without further ado, let me get into my review of the 2023 Dead Space remake. So of course, once again, this is survival horror. It gets all that great aspects, and again, to basically built this game from the ground up once again to remaster it, and of the 2008 game. And of course, as most of you know, I absolutely love the Dead Space series. You all know what I think about the first game, so I'm not really going to get into a review of the story or anything like that because I've already talked about it many times. And again, so I love the first Dead Space. I love Dead Space 2. Dead Space 3 is very heavy for me, but yeah, I don't really need to talk about the story too much. It is the same thing as what the 2008 game was able to do. So again, too, they just really rebuilt this game in a lot of ways that just made it play and look so much better. And again, too, I feel like whenever I hear that a video game is getting remade, this is the quality that I want to see every single time. I don't just want a tiny little graphical elevation like what the Mass Effect games did or anything like that. Like this completely rebuilt the combat structure, a lot of the lighting, new cutscenes. Isaac talks in this one. They changed his character model in some ways. Same thing with again a lot of the characters within this. There's just so much that this game was able to do that just did it absolutely great. So I'm gonna try and break it down based off the new elements and how I feel like those again do just highlighted and made this game so much better than really Dead Space already was. So talking in the easier things, just the graphical upgrade, it is amazing and easily what 2023 and what the PlayStation 5s can do in terms of graphical quality. This does that amazingly. All the lighting effects on the Ishimera, and again to just all the little changes that they're able to do with adding more context to the signs of all the atriums and the different rooms that you go in, make it a whole lot more atmospheric. And the smoke effects, again, the lighting effects, just how the lighting shines off of Isaac's armor and his weapons, and using the weapons as a way of like a flashlight in this was just absolutely amazing. And playing this at any time of the day, especially at night, really highlights just how great adding all those ray tracing elements within on the PS5 is. There's a bunch of different graphical settings that you can go for, but yeah, truly this is one of the best graphical upgrades I've ever seen within a game. It's pretty damn amazing and special. And again, to kind of like what the Last of Us Part 1 remake did, I think this definitely rivals that in terms of how great and how much you can elevate a game by almost like again rebuilding it from the ground up in terms of its graphical content. It just made it a whole lot more atmospheric, which Dead Space already was, and that made it all the more scarier. And of course, making it all the more scarier, one of my favorite changes from Dead Space 1 to 2 was giving Isaac voice lines and having you get inside his head a little bit more. That made it a whole lot more scary, and that's what this game did exactly. They added a whole bunch of voice lines for Isaac to speak. They got the original voice actor back, and it does throw me off a little bit that they changed his face. They modeled it after his voice actor. I do prefer the original Isaac look, but again, too, he has his helmet on for most of the time throughout this game, so you don't really get to see a whole lot of it anyways. But it's absolutely fine for what it is, and it makes sense if they model it based off the voice actor. But yeah, giving him the lines and just getting inside his head, his thought patterns, all that things just makes it a whole lot more scary and adds a whole lot more layers to Isaac. And I wish that's how the first game would have gone originally, but yeah, we have it now, and it's just so much better. It's great for Isaac, makes a lot more sense from that bounce between Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2 as well. But again, too, just being able to get into his head is so much better. And again, too, the addition of cutscenes in this makes it really scary in a lot of ways too. There are some amazing cutscenes that they throw into this game. One of my favorites is when you find the captain's body and he turns into a necromorph. Just the sheer terror, almost like in Dead Space 2 when the one kind of hospital medic is over top of you and his skin's peeling off and everything. You get a really similar scene like that, but he's just over top Isaac, and it's terrifying. It's so crazy, and yeah, I just love the addition of cutscenes and more dialogue for Isaac. Because again, too, I just found it makes it a whole lot more scarier, and it's just builds again to a lot more terror, a lot more tension, and just makes it more of like a full game in a lot of ways. They're just very, very effective and definitely fit greatly within the Dead Space again franchise, and again just the atmosphere that it tries to create. When it comes to the gameplay, they definitely made this a lot quicker, a lot smoother. It plays really similar to Dead Space 2 in a lot of ways, and I absolutely love that. So there isn't really addition of new weapons or anything like that, but everything just feels a lot more smoother. And again, so if you love the gameplay of Dead Space 2, is really what they tried to model this after, just in terms of again too just how it feels in a lot of ways. You still have your stasis and your kinesis, and of course the main gameplay elements is kill the limbs, shoot off again to the spiky arms that the necromorphs have and shoot them back at each other, conserving your ammo in a lot of ways. And I do find that on some of the easier difficulties they give you a lot more ammo, and it makes it a lot easier to get through this game in a lot of ways. A little less survival horror in that sense, because there's still a lot of resource management that you need to do in the game, and again too just the upgraded HUD and inventory system, and they modeled off of Dead Space too. They took that perfect formula and added it into the first game in a lot of ways, which again too just made it a lot more fun for me to play because of just how much more organized it was. And I love that. I thought it was absolutely great. Same enemy types, same weapons, but everything is just a lot more smooth and feels great in that way. But one of the biggest additions to the gameplay that they were able to change and add within this remake is the addition of side quests that again too will just give you ways to get more ammunition, upgrades, things like that for Isaac, which could be in the terms of mini games, can be in the terms of again to text logs to add more lore to the story. And one of the biggest things too is if you beat this game and then go to New Game Plus and get 100% of the collectibles, you get a secret ending, which adds so much like context from Dead Space 1 from the ending of Dead Space 1 to the beginning of Dead Space 2, and just how Isaac ended up in the situation that he was in and what was controlling him to again build all these markers by the end of it. Absolutely great. And again too that little addition of it was something really, really cool. And again too just I really like when the video games make you work for having to get these extra endings and things like that. It's really, really cool and something I appreciated a ton. And again too it's just this is the standard for me now of how video game remakes should be done. Just again to completely rebuilding it from the ground up and adding so much great context and making everything smoother, from the graphics, how it runs, to the gameplay, to adding again to just more content for people to get into. I still don't think this is worth the full price, like $90 price tag that it comes in at here in Canada. But if you can find this one on sale, say like around $50, $60, I definitely think it is very, very worth it. And something that again too, if you love the first Dead Space, it's definitely great to get into this one. It's just as scary as it was 80 or sorry, in 2008, because again too just of how greatly made it is and how much more atmospheric they're able to make it be. And again to just all the context, it's great. If you haven't played Dead Space, definitely hop into this one. Way better than the Callisto Protocol in every single way. If you have to choose between this one or Callisto, definitely go with the Dead Space remake. It's fantastic in so many ways, and I just had an absolute blast playing with it. Was able to get through it twice and had so much fun doing it. I rented it from the library, and I might honestly, when it goes on sale, pick it up again because I love the Dead Space franchise. This was a great kind of re-entry and remake into the world of Dead Space, and yeah, it just made me love it even more in so many ways. It's really perfect in everything that it did. And again, too, when it comes to my score in terms of ranking it as a remake and also taking in the story and things like that, that I really wanted to give it a full like 10 out of 10, but it is amazing in what it was able to do, and I'm gonna have to give the Dead Space remake a 9 out of 10. It's fantastic. Again, too, it's a standard that every single video game should kind of strive to go through when they talk about remakes, remasters, all those things. It's fantastic. And just again, to set a gold standard, I would love if they were able to do the same thing for Dead Space 2, because I love that one so much. It's my favorite one. And yeah, just so much that I love that they're able to do. And I highly recommend this to anyone. It's badass, it's awesome, it's scary. It's Dead Space, and it's fucking awesome. So if you play the Dead Space remake, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. And if you like this review, definitely give it a thumbs up, and you check out everything I do on the channel through the playlist down below, and I'll link some up top here for convenience sake. Thank you for subscribing and turn that little ringer on so you know when I upload new videos. If you want to check out the description of this video on my channel bio, there's a link to the Media Mountain, which is my Discord where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, pretty much everything that's awesome in this world. So you can definitely join that amazing community, help make it even more amazing than it is already, and yeah, just awesome, guys.
I just hope that someone would love me.